Hey guys, welcome. This is part one, the first, I guess, 2 pages of the study guide. So let's go ahead and get started. C is the midpoint. Since we know we have the midpoint, we can draw a picture real quick. A, B, and here's C. So C is directly in the middle, so these two segments are congruent. So we get x plus 7 and 8x minus 28. All I really have to do is set those two equal to each other. So we'll do x plus 7 equals 8x minus 28. I'm going to go ahead and subtract the x over here and add the 28 over. And when we add those two together, we're going to get 35 equals 7x, and then we can divide by 7. And x is going to equal 5. Okay. Once we get 5, we can plug it back in and find what the value of actual AB is going to be. So I plug in 5 here, 5 plus 7, that's going to be 12. This will also be 12, so the whole length is going to be 24. Or 12 plus 12, which would equal the full segment of AB. Okay. Moving on, we have question number 2. It says find the coordinate of the midpoint of ST. We have to use the midpoint formula for this, so that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to go ahead and label our points to make sure that we don't make a mistake, especially on our final. And we're going to get negative 5 minus 2 over 3 minus a negative 1. So 2 negatives become positive.
Good afternoon, Triton
Awesome
teachers. Will Ann Lewis
pause. Okay, sorry about that, but that was announcements. All right, here we go. Let me go ahead and finish up. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I had to pause a couple times. Anyway, so here we're doing our slope. Oh my gosh, this is midpoint formula, and I'm doing the slope. Holy cow. Okay, my bad. I'm doing the wrong equation. It's okay. It's going to be a long video. All right, midpoint. My bad. x2 plus x1 divided by 2, y2 plus y1 divided by 2. My bad. All right, midpoint. All right, we got to read more carefully, Mr. Smith. 3 plus a negative 1 divided by 2. That's going to become 2 divided by 2, or just 1. And then we're going to get y2, which is negative 5 plus 2, which is going to be a negative 3 over 2, which we can't reduce. So we get 1 comma negative 3 over 2 is our midpoint. Okay? Sorry about that. All right, distance formula. Let's get the right equation here. D equals the square root x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay? x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's always really important to make sure you have everything labeled. And that you have the right equation, like I did on that last one. 3 minus a negative 4 squared plus, this is going to be negative 1 minus a negative 6 squared. So 2 negatives make a positive. This is going to become 5 squared. This is 2 negatives make a positive. That's going to become 7 squared. So we're going to get 49 plus 25. Remember, everything's still getting square rooted here. And then we add those together, we get 74 square root. And that's our answer. That's actually not reducible. I could put it in my calculator and get a number, but we're going to leave it like this. Okay, number 4, it says C is between A and B. So if we're going to draw a picture here, I always recommend A, B, C could be right here. If C is between, doesn't mean it's in the middle. So we can't assume that it's in the middle. It could be, but it doesn't mean it is. Okay, and most likely if I'm using the word between, then it's probably not. Okay, so we got those two pieces right there, and then we're going to go ahead and show AB is this whole segment, 6x plus 20. So what we have to do is we have to say the small segment plus a small segment equals the large segment. This property is segment addition property, okay, or postulate is probably a better word for it. And we're going to go ahead and add these two together and set it equal to 6x plus 20. Alright, so we combine like terms. 3x and 7x is 10x. 4 and negative 12 is going to be a negative 8. That equals 6x plus 20. I'm going to subtract the 6x over. So we get 2x, add the 8 over, equals 28, x equals 14. And there we are. Okay, so segment addition postulate, I should say. All right. This next one, it says name the angle shown below. So all we have to do is really just say angle QMN. I'm just getting you practice of labeling angles. This next one is figure out the question. We got angle 2 is x plus 21. Angle 4 is 8x minus 42. Okay. I want to find angle 1. I first have to find x. So these are vertical angles, so I can set them equal to each other. I'll go ahead and solve, subtract the x, add the 42. We get 7x equals 63. X equals 9. Okay. Now I'm going to plug 9 back into this equation here for 4. We're going to get 8 times 9 minus 42. And just to be careful, I'm going to use my calculator here. 8 times 9, turn it on, 8 times 9 minus 42, we get 30. So angle 4 is 30 degrees. Angle 1 and 4 are a linear pair, so they have to add to 180, so we know that angle 1 is 150 degrees. Okay. Number 7, it says A and B are a linear pair, so A and B are going to add up and be equal to 180. And we just have to solve for x. So combine like terms, 4x and 2x is 6x. 12 and 36, it's going to give me 48 equals 180. Subtract 48 from 180, and we get 132. And I have my calculator over here. I'm just using it to double check my numbers. Divide by 6, and I should get x equals 22. C and D are complementary angles. Solve for x and then C. Well, we basically know complementary means they add up to 90, so we just do 8x minus 12 plus 4x equals 90. Combine like terms, 8x and 4x is going to give you 12x minus 12 equals 90. Add the 12, and we get 12x equals 102. And I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator. We get 8.5 for x. And then we got to plug it back in to find c. So c is right here. 8 times 8.5 minus 12. 8 times 8.5 minus 12, and I get 56. Okay. Alright, number 9. We got a little reading to do. ML and NM are opposite rays. Since they're opposite rays, I know that from here all the way to here is going to be 180 degrees. MT bisects, so that means 2 and 3 are going to be congruent. And then it says angle 4 is equal to 43 degrees. Angle 1 is equal to 71 degrees. Angle 3 is 2x plus 19, but if 3 is 2x plus 19, 2 is also 2x plus 19. Solve. Well, if I add up all 4 angles, they're going to add up and set equal to 180. So 71 plus 43 plus 2x plus 19 plus 2x plus 19 equals 180. So I'm just going to add them all up. 71 plus 43 plus 19 plus 19. Set equal to 152. 2x is going to be 4x equals 180. So we'll subtract 152 from 180 and we get 28, and then divide by 4 and we get x equals 7. Okay, then it asks us to find angle 3. So we just have to do 2 times 7 plus 19. That's going to be 14 plus 19. And 14 plus 19 is 33. Okay. Again, I use the calculator a lot just to double check and back up my answers. It's okay. We can't afford to make small minor mistakes. Okay. All right. On this side, we're starting chapter 2, and it asks us to describe the property being used. Okay. So we can go ahead and do this. So we got x plus 8 equals 12y, and then 12y equals x plus 8. So they're just flipping it, so we call that symmetric. I think I don't need that s there. Symmetric. These are all properties. I'm not going to write property here, but you could. A plus c equals 2d, c equals 30, then a plus 30 equals c, 20. That's a substitution. A equals b, that is reflexive when it's the exact same thing. X equals y plus 1, y plus 1 equals z, then x equals z, that is transitive. 3x plus 8 equals 20, 3x equals 12, so I subtracted 8 from both sides, so that's subtraction. PQ equals 16, and 2 times PQ equals 32, so I multiply both sides by 2, so that's multiplication. R is the midpoint of TS, then TR equals RS. That's actually midpoint, or def of midpoint. AB equals CD, then CD equals AB. That's symmetric again. If B is between A and C.
Will Ann Lewis please dial the operator? Ann Lewis, please dial the operator at the front desk, please. Thank you.
Man, so many interruptions this afternoon. Sorry about that. If B is between A and C, then AB plus BC equals AC. That's going to be segment addition postulate. Okay. And 19, if A is supplementary to B and C is supplementary to B, what must be true? I like to draw a picture for this. So A, and this will be A, this is B, so they're supplementary. A is supplementary to B, and G is supplementary to B. So let's see, it would be G. Then what must be true? Well, it means A and G are going to have to be congruent. Angle A is congruent to angle G. We can try numbers with this. For example, I can try 100 for B, so this would have to be 80. And the only other number that G could be with that would be 80 as well. Write the conditional, converse, and inverse for the statements. Identify the hypothesis and conclusion. A square has 4 sides. First, I got to write as conditional. That means I have to write an if, then statement. So, if a square, then 4 sides, right? Okay, this is my P, then my Q. Okay? The converse is when I take my statement like this, and I just flip it. Okay? So this is going to become 4 sides. So if 4 sides, then a square. And is that true? That would be a false statement. It could be a lot of things. It could be a rectangle, it could be a rhombus, it could be a trapezoid. On the back page, the inverse. So that would be taking the conditional and then negating it. Okay, so if not a square, then not 4 sides. Okay, and that's actually, if it's not a square, then it's not 4 sides. That's not true as well, because you could have a rectangle has 4 sides and it's not a square. Contrapositive is when I take the conditional, I do the converse, and I negate them. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and put not 4 sides. If not 4 sides, then not a square. And that's actually true. So if it doesn't have 4 sides, there's no way it could be a square. The hypothesis is always the first part of the conditional, so that would be if a square, The conclusion is then four sides. Okay, sorry about that. Find a valid conclusion that can be reached from the statements 1 and 2. Also state what law is being used. If two angles form a linear pair, then they share a common ray and a common vertex. This isn't a great question, but it's trying to be an example of law of detachment. So this is law of detachment, and I'll explain why. Law of detachment says if you're given a conditional P then Q, and it's a true conditional, and then I state that P is true, then I can conclude Q is true. So if two angles form a linear pair, angle 1 angle 2 equal 180, which is what a linear pair does. So then they share a common ray. So I would say if P then Q, this is P, so then what must be true? Q. So I basically just take all of that, and you need to write it in there. Okay? Alright. Moving to chapter 3, and this is the last part of part 1. It says, given that L and M are parallel and that A and B are parallel, what kind of things can we say? Well, we can actually do quite a bit here. I actually like to just fill out the whole puzzle first and then fill it in. So 126 is right here. Corresponding angles are right here. So angle 2 is 126. Angle 1 and 2 add to 180. So if I take 126, I take it away from 180, I'm going to get angle 1, which is 54 degrees. Okay, basically every answer here is going to be 126 or 54. So angle 2 is 126, angle 1 is 54, and now we just kind of get to zip through this pretty quickly. 1 and 3 are vertical, 2 and 4 are vertical, so those are congruent angles. Okay, now I got to hop over to the other side, so if I kind of cover this up, I can actually see that 126, angle 2, and angle 6 are going to be congruent because they're corresponding. So that's 126. And then if I cover this part up, I can see 6 and 10 are corresponding, so they're congruent as well. So that really helps me out because the rest of this is going to go really quick. 6 and 8 are congruent because they're vertical. 10 and 12 are vertical. Okay. 9 and 10 are supplementary, so they're going to add to 180. So 9 is 54. And 11 is 54 because they're vertical. Also, same thing, 5 up here is going to be 54 because it adds to 180, and 7 vertical is 54. So we have a nice 54 or 126 makes up our whole shape. At the bottom it says, use the figure below to solve for x, given A and B are parallel. So these are parallel. Name the relationship. At the top, our vocab has this thing that says consecutive interior angles. We're used to same side interior. It's the same meaning. Okay, it means two angles that are on the inside and they are consecutive, or we call it same side. So what we do is we can just go ahead and add those two together. Whoops, that's not set them equal to each other. Let's rewrite that all together. 2x minus 42 plus 3x plus 2 should equal 180. Add combined like terms, 5x minus 40 equals 180. Add the 40 over, we get 5x equals 220. And then we can just divide 220 by 5, and we get 44. And the relationship here is same side interior. And that is it. So that's the whole part 1 video. We'll have part 2 and part 3 video up shortly. So we'll see you later. Good day, Governor.